Hey, hello everybody. This is Dana with CoachDanaInspires.com, and we are here for business inspiration. And our special guest today is Ed DeCosta with Catalyst Associates. And we are so excited to have you here today, Ed. How are you?
I'm doing well, Dana. Very, very nice to be with you. I have nothing but great feelings for you and all the interactions we've had, and I'm delighted to join your program and to help your listeners and viewers in any way that I possibly can.
Well, we're excited to have you too. You're a coach. You're a coaching kind of guy. So how do you see businesses moving forward? How do you see, because we've kind of gone through that beginning COVID. Oh, it's only going to be a few months. Everything will be back to normal, whatever normal was, and everything's going to be great. And I think now we're seeing that it's not going back to normal, and certainly not tomorrow. So what do you see going on now? How do you see we're going to move forward?
So I think anyone being asked that question, giving an honest answer, has to say they don't know. And because I certainly don't know. I'll give you my opinion, just out of respect for the question. But to say it's unprecedented is an understatement. We've never had a year like this year. We will look back, and when we say September 11th now, there have been many September 11th, but there's only one real September 11th, and we know which one we're referring to. Well, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, 100 years from now, okay? When people say 2020, it's not going to be hindsight is 2020. It's going to be that year.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I don't know. I don't have the benefit of hindsight yet. So I don't know how fast we're going to come out of this. We could rebound again and have another quarantine, another negative result. Or we could come rushing out of it like many states already have. I think at the end of the day, with respect to things you have control over and things you don't have control over, this is, a personal and professional development kind of tenet, is that you'd better focus your attention on the things that you have control over. And the things you have control over, your attitude and your outlook and your activity level. And so for me personally, I'm acting as if we're coming out of this. I'm acting as if my clients' businesses are going to start rebounding in the fourth quarter, okay, in the beginning of Q1 of 2021. That's the way I'm going to behave. I'm going to act it into existence, if you will. Some people like that kind of language better than other ways. I don't know when that phase is going to end.
Right. I think you're right to think about what we can control and then do that. Other things, and the thing, like, I might make a statement, I like dogs, and I can't control how a cat lover may respond. But if they're angry at me and they come back with ugly, I can still stay calm and say cats are okay. There's nothing wrong with cats, but I just happen to be a dog lover, and just be in control of what I can do.
No doubt. I mean, it's going to be difficult. In fact, now it's going to be impossible, because I'm going to do it here in the first few minutes, for you and I to speak without talking about John Maxwell, our friend and mentor.
Absolutely.
But, he says a lot of famous things, or has said a lot of things that have become famous, in part because he said them. And one of them that I've seen manifest itself in so many different ways is, everything is a leadership problem, right? Everything rises and falls on leadership.
Right.
Not too long ago, I have some friends that were in a car accident.
Ooh.
The family was in a car accident, and everybody was fine. Okay, everybody was fine. But the mom, who was driving the family car, and the father was in the passenger seat and the children in the back, immediately, messaged to her husband, I think verbally and non-verbally, stay positive. Okay, stay positive. Okay. And the kids stayed positive throughout the entire ordeal. And in hindsight, they believe that mom and dad staying calm, put in other words, Dana, controlling what they had control over.
Right.
Even though you could argue, oh, at a moment like that, you have no control over your emotions. Well, actually, You do.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Watch a war movie. Watch a war documentary. Talk to a veteran. Talk to one of the firefighters that were at the New York City on
Yep.
9/11. Like, what do you mean you were running into the building? How can you do that? That makes no sense. Well, if you were there, it did make sense.
Right.
So you do influence others. Coming out of this pandemic, coming out of this COVID-19 season is going to be about some critical mass of Americans deciding, in spite of the data, in spite of my frustration with other Americans and other politicians and whatever,
Yeah.
I'm just going to smile through it and I'm just going to work it like everything's great, and we'll make
Absolutely.
it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think if instead of throwing out negative, if you throw out positive and you stay kind and thoughtful, people are going to respond that way, and it sort of has that little happy ripple effect going out. Right. I like that a lot. I like that a lot. So during this time of COVID and quarantines and I like to call it physical distancing, not social distancing.
Right. Sure.
I'm too social. I can't stay distancing for long. So physical distancing I'm a little better at, but social distancing I really am not good. But
you are in Wyoming.
Yeah, I am in Wyoming. So we've been, they say we've been social distancing
for quite a while.
since 1893 or anyway, something like crazy like that. But it is true. We really are far away, but that's okay. So do we have something to search for, like something to hold on to, like our potential? What can we work towards our potential even in these times? You wrote a book. Wait a minute. Let me think what that book was. Did you write a book on potential? Come on, help me out here. I know you did.
I wrote 2 books, dear. I wrote
Thank
2
you.
books. I wrote 1 book and then I said, you know what? I think I have the potential to do 1 more and double it, which I did.
Well, I've written 2, so you and I are both authors. Yeah. We are authors. So, but you talked about potential in your books.
Yes, potential. It's a dangerous thing, right? People say, well, she had so much potential or he had so much potential. And when I say that, what kind of thought conjures into your head? Wasted potential.
Right.
Wasted talent. Mm-hmm. Right? That somebody had all these opportunities but blew them. Okay. So the word potential, even though it's a scientific term, meaning how much energy is contained inside of an object. Potential energy is correlated to the height of an object.
Right.
Kinetic energy is connected to how fast it's going, but potential energy is possessed. So it's not negative or positive per se, but it has to do with what we're capable of. And for many people, the honest answer to have you potential, what is your potential? The honest answer, like when's COVID going to end, is I don't know, because there's really only one way. There's only one way to find out. Okay.
And that is to
reach your potential and fail. To fail, right? You've got a bunch of dumbbells on the floor, and they're from 5 pounds to 300 pounds, and you're pretty sure you can lift a 5-pound dumbbell, and you're pretty sure you can't lift a 300-pound dumbbell, but they're at 5-pound increments. So how do you know, aside from getting tired from trying,
right?
How would you know what the heaviest one is that you can lift? There's only one way. And I've said this to many audiences, and I've had people correct me and say, well, there's 2 ways. You could start from the bottom and keep going up, or you could start from the top and keep going down. It's the same principle. You're going to get to whatever the weight is, weight X, that you can lift, barely get it off the ground, and then weight X plus 5 where you're like, not happening.
Yeah.
Okay. And in that silly example, that at that moment is your potential. And so for our life experiences, it's really about where you've fallen down, where you've messed up, where I bit off more than I could chew. Okay. Not literally at the dinner table, but in business or in life, I have a daughter who's a pharmacy student just finishing up. She took 22 credit hours, right? And about 3 weeks into the semester, she said, Dad, I said, you bit off too much. She said, I did. She was, is it okay if I drop a class? I said, you're a grown woman now. You decide what you want to do. There's no shame in it. There's no shame in it.
But she can take that class, she can retake it. And
she did. And she did.
Yeah.
And at no point was she required to take 22 freaking credit hours. But she realized, even though she's really smart and she works hard and she's disciplined, she's not superhuman.
Yeah.
We have potential.
Right. Absolutely. And failing is not a bad thing.
Failing is part of success.
Right.
There's so many quotes. In fact, there's one that irritates the heck out of me as an engineer, right? It says, success is about falling down 7 times and getting up 8 times. Okay? It sounds right, and it's a nice meme on social media, but it's actually impossible, okay? If you fall down 1 time, just once, how many times can you get up? 1 time. Now you're back up. So if you fall down 7 times, you can get up 7 times, and now you're back up. I get their point. Their point is don't quit, okay? But they're not math majors because they're like, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Okay, I know what you mean, but math is not your subject.
So, well, I think we can all agree that no matter what, if we're good at anything, we have failed doing it, getting to that point. And they use the example of a baby getting up and walking. The baby just doesn't get up and walk. The baby gets up and falls down. And when we were kids, well, you're much younger than I am, Ed, but when I was a kid, we had those big fluffy cotton diapers, and falling down was, that was no brainer.
Yeah.
You just poof down on those diapers and no problem. And you'd get up again and try and fall and try and fall. And pretty soon you're not falling as much.
I have a 1-year-old grandson and a 3-year-old grandson, and they are doing absolutely stupid things. And we laugh hysterically at their doing of stupid things because there's no DNA test necessary. Like those are my 2 sons 20 years ago.
Yeah.
Or 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But that's my brother and I, 50 plus years ago. Okay. So yeah, if you climb up on a chair and jump off and hurt your foot, you cry and your mom picks you up and then you feel better and then you crawl over to the chair again to climb up again. That's what you do.
Yeah. Until it doesn't hurt or.
Yeah, well, it's because nobody's told you to stop yet.
Until your mom takes the chair away.
Right, la, 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 la. I'm not hearing you. Right.
Absolutely. That's so true. So true. And I think all of us, as we go, we're working our businesses and we try this marketing or we try this website or we try this cart, this one didn't work for me. And I've had to get rid of a cart because it was stupid for me to have that cart. And maybe somebody else, it's perfect for them, but it wasn't good for me. And, so everything that we do, it doesn't always turn out perfect the first time, but if we keep going, like you were talking about our potential, we just have to keep moving until we reach that. And then I always think, can we go a little farther? Maybe with a little extra work.
But to your point, we are all unique. Imagine if we were to talk about, the best hockey player in the world. Okay, well, most of us would probably agree who care about hockey. It's Wayne Gretzky. Okay, whether he is or isn't is not the point.
Oh, I was thinking old school, but go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, you're making my point. But if we said, what's the best meal you've ever had? Or what is the best meal to have? If anyone living or dead could come back to life and make you a meal, or maybe you'd make yourself a meal, and it would be the best meal you could possibly ask for. And all of your audience answered that question. And we got photos. We did a little food porn collage of images. How many identical images would we see?
Yeah.
Zero. We would see zero. And it doesn't mean anyone's meal is any less delicious and spectacular than anyone else's. It's our personal preferences. So just because something, Linda's eggplant parmesan is perfect for me, it doesn't mean anyone else would want to have any. And that's okay. That's
Well,
perfectly okay.
we would probably all want to have it. It just may not be our very favorite.
Well,
but we'd
if you
want
were
it.
smarter, you'd want it. But I want somebody's, corned beef and, cabbage. I definitely would, or someone else's, beef curry. It would just depend. But you get my point. Is so many times people think, oh, I have this mentor and I'm emulating everything he does or everything she does. Well, no, that's not the wisest strategy.
Exactly.
The principles, yes, but the actual choices, why are there so many flavors at the ice cream store?
Right.
When Dana, there's only one best. Right? Why do they have any of the others? It makes no sense.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's very true. And speaking of individuality, which is, I think, something that we all need to really be aware of with us, that I'm not going to get through this the same way one of my friends gets through this. And, some of us are getting to go back into an office and work. Some of us get to go back into their workspace, but some of us are still stuck at home. You and I, we work from home 90% of the time. So this hasn't been a giant change for me, other than I don't get on a plane and do a keynote, here and there, which is tough for me, that, because I like the people. But so my life hasn't changed that much. But for people who are used to going into the office, being there, from 8 to 5, here's my lunch, here's, my break, this is where I park every day. Now they're stuck at home. And, this productivity thing, how do they stay productive when their spouse is saying, well, you're home, take care of the kids while I go to the store? Or, what can we do? You got a strategy for our listeners?
Or, the mailman's at the door. Could you help us out a little bit? Okay, so absolutely. It's very different, even for those of us that spend a considerable amount of time working out of a home office, because if you live with other human beings or even other four-legged friends, right, their world has changed. As you and I chatted before, the dog is outside right now, and she knows when the light is on and the laptop's open that, I'm at work, and I've got a sign on my door that says, meeting in progress. But what isn't said on the sign is, and I love you very much. Okay. Please be quiet. I love you very much.
Yeah.
Right? Which you don't put on the office door of a conference room when you're at work. Right? It would be weird to say, please be quiet. I love you very much. So it's not, I'm stuck at home. It's, I get to work at home and I've got less of a commute. Okay. I get to go to lunch in my kitchen. Okay. I get to give a kiss to my people that I care very much about, where normally at work, kind of creepy at best, or
yeah, I'm with you on that one. Yeah,
illegal at worst, to kiss the people you work with. So it's dress for work. Dress for work. You're telling yourself you're at work. Have your daily calendar. What are your goals for the day? What are your appointments for the day? Do you use a timer? I'm a big fan of these timers. I use timers to tell me how much time I have left in the thing that I'm doing, or when the next big thing that I'm doing is due or begins.
Right.
So some things change radically, Dana, is the point, and some things don't change at all. And then as important as anything else, because I've been on a few podcasts, and one of them was on specifically this subject, and that is, if you remember watching Mr. Rogers, okay, It's a Beautiful Day in This Neighborhood, when he walked in, the beginning of the show, he changed his shoes.
Right.
He would sit down and he would be singing the intro song, right? won't you, please won't you be my neighbor? Hi, friends. Okay, and I'm not Mr. Rogers. Okay,
That's okay.
but he was changing from his outside environment to his inside environment. And so when I leave this office, when you leave this office, when your listeners, wherever you are, whatever workspace you have, when you have left it for the day, as if you are getting in your car and driving home, okay, do that. And then let your family know mom's home, dad's home, Mary's home, Scott's home. Let them know you're home, because now you've loosened the leash, so to speak, where they're trying to be respectful.
Right.
Okay, because dad's got a sign that says meeting in progress. Well, guess what? That sign's coming down and it's going to go on there on the shelf. So
Right.
make sure you give them a break and then reward them, because they've contributed to your productivity more so than they ever usually would if you're out of the house in a physical office.
Right. Right. And I think that's really a good point, is to acknowledge, they're part of making you successful that day.
It's a team effort for
absolutely
certain.
Right.
It's a team effort. And my wife and I, Linda and I, have been married 33 years. I love her dearly. I never want to have another wife. At the very beginning, she came in and she asked me about something. And I said, honey, I love you, but I'm not going to answer your question. I'm just going to ask you, would you ever consider driving to my office, coming up into the office and asking me that question? Well, no. She was like, oh, you don't want me to ask you. I said, it's not that I don't want you to. It's just, if we're going to make this work, that door has got to be like the 8 miles to the office.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's a mindset that even now, as people have been in their home offices for a while, even now, I think it's very, very important to not get lax on that. And even if you haven't done that in the past, it's time to implement that now, so that you're not bumping heads. Well, Ed, our time is up. This goes so fast. And I like to keep it short, because, if I said, hey, listen to us for an hour, no one would tune in. But a half hour, 25 minutes, people have time. And I think what we've talked about today has been really very beneficial for people to think back. What am I doing for my potential? Am I really striving every day to reach that? And the productivity piece, I think it's so important to, you said, earlier on, you said, have a schedule, make a plan. And you have a very cool schedule that I used, and I had to kind of remake it. I customized it for myself.
Make your own. Make it daily.
What are you doing every day? Then what are you doing certain other days? And you have to have a plan. I think it's so important. It's okay to jump in the car. Yeah, make that every day a habit. What am I doing tomorrow? Kind of review it. It makes a big difference for me to review tomorrow before I go to, before the evening is over tonight. I will see what I'm doing tomorrow, and I have that in my mind, and I'm excited about it. So
Jim Jones said, be thankful for the day you've just completed. Be mindful of the biggest things that you must accomplish tomorrow. Not worried about them, not perplexing about them, but just be mindful. These are the big rocks, 2, 3, 4 things that I will accomplish tomorrow. And then be receptive to, a higher power, to me, God's divine providence and assistance in helping make tomorrow as good as today was. And to some people, they are just not buying that at all. And I'm sorry for those folks. I wish that you could be open to those kind of thoughts, because they're just as true as any other things. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with you 100%. Yeah,
we just have to keep moving. And so to wrap up here, we have some information about Ed DeCosta. If I could get the thing to move, ta-da! It's magic. So Ed DeCosta, here is Ed's contact information. If you want to talk more about Ed's ideas on productivity, if you want to look up his books and maybe ask him some questions, here's his contact information. He's not out here begging for clients. He's just letting you know that he is available and willing to serve. He's a great friend of mine. One of my faves. And here's my information as well. If I can be of service to you, please reach out and let's talk. Let's find out how you and I can make this world a better place. And Ed, thank you so much. You're just an inspiration, and you have so much great information to share with us. And we could have carried on for an hour and a half, I'm sure. But we'll let our viewers go, and I'll let you go back to your work and just let Stella outside and play with her. And
okay.
Well,
you're welcome. And I'm glad to virtually meet the rest of you, and I hope you got some value out of day and night's conversation.
Absolutely. Care. Thank you, Ed, and thank you, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday on Business Inspiration. Have a great day. Be kind.